can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, Don, so we're a skeleton staff here today at You Cannot Be Serious. Usually we have, sometimes we have Phoebe in, Fiona Byrne. She may have been warned off maybe, or she may have decided that this wasn't her forum, or she might be...
What are you talking about?
She might be busy.
She comes in later.
She hasn't been in for the last couple of weeks. Maybe because we said that the Welcome to Country is getting out of hand, particularly at the AFL. Incidentally, I noticed the Daily, is it the Daily Mail or the Daily Mirror that report?
Daily Mail.
Daily Mail. We'll give them a shout out because they reported accurately what I said, besides the extravagant headline that they put up about me. But basically what they reported was verbatim off our transcript, which I stand by.
So you're happy?
Wholeheartedly. And maybe they're a bit wary because we sued them successfully for defamation.
Well, why have you got to bring that
Well,
up?
I'm just saying they'd probably be careful that they didn't transgress again. And I'm giving them a shout out. Well done for them reporting accurately in inverted commas.
Excuse me. Your arms are crossed across your body. We had that last week with our... Now, uncross your arms, body language.
So, well done to the Daily Mail. Yeah.
Mail.
So, good on them. Do you know why we sued them, don't you? You know why we sued them, don't you? Because
righto. Let's go. No, that'll do.
Yeah, because
Thank
a
you
clown
very much.
told lies about us, and we sued him indirectly,
Thank
suing them because they reported what this clown of a man said about us, which turned out to be a lie and fabricated, and he apologised for lying and defaming us, and we got compensated for that. So that was that. And now why did I get onto that, Donald?
No, there was where you're going.
But there's a reason. Oh, no, because maybe Phoebe didn't come in, maybe because she's, I don't know, maybe her employer said, oh, that's a bit tricky to be engaged in that conversation. I wholeheartedly stand by it, and you'd be amazed at the number of people that said, that is very fair comment. It's nothing against the Welcome to Country. It's nothing against recognising it at all, but to go on and on and on about it. And our only point is that since settlement was here 200 and however many years ago, this country is what it is today because those people who landed here have built it. And let's all get on, like Jacinta Price says, let's all get on together and not have them and us. So that was that. So, and then Max, my son, you remember Max, Don? He's
What's wrong there? We had a blue.
No, he said, well, I don't think I'll come in anymore because sport is over, the football. He is mainly interested in the football. And then suddenly the Essendon saga rears its ugly head. Not its ugly head, but it rears its head.
So we need an expert comment, do we?
We needed an expert comment from Max about because he is an Essendon devotee, Don.
But do you think would you class that as what's happened at Essendon as the Grant Thomas episode revisited saga?
The what?
Remember Grant Thomas?
Do I remember him?
Yeah.
I play golf with him every week,
okay,
yes, Don.
Well, you might bring it up with him. He was on the football committee at St Kilda and he finishes up the coach. Now, this man, what was his Thorburn?
Mr. Thorburn.
Yes. Now, he was on the review panel.
I wonder if he's the father of the billiards player, Cliff Thorburn.
The Englishman?
From Pot Black.
He could be the son.
He could be the son of Cliff Thorburn. Anyhow, he's juggling his balls. He's juggling his balls at the minute, Mr. Thorburn. What is Mr. Thorburns' name? What's his name? Hey, he might be playing snooker in his.
Just leave it as Mr.
He might be playing snooker in his underpants. What is Mr. Thorburns' name?
Anyway, he was on the review committee. How can you be on the review committee? Then you finish up the CEO. He's done a Ron Joseph too. Ronnie, when he took over at South Melbourne, was there for 5 minutes and resigned as CEO as well. Did you remember that back in the 70s or 80s?
Ron Joseph resigned as CEO. Why did he?
Well, he was in charge at North Melbourne, finished at North. He went down to South Melbourne, Lakeside Oval. He was there for 5 minutes. The books were no good, the financials, so he was out. That was Ron Joseph.
But he wasn't responsible for the books being bad.
I know that, but when he went there, they painted a rosy picture. He got there and he thought, oh, gee, this is not so...
They misrepresented their fiscal position, Don. And
so
Ron thought...
We've got a bit of a Grant Thomas and a Ron Joseph in all this, haven't we? Mr. Thorburn?
Yeah, I'm not.
Nothing. Everything just gets regurgitated. It's always happened before.
So
Here's son number one.
don't worry about who's
I
coming
will.
in the door, Don. Please.
Well, you do.
Well, I do, Don. So that's why Max is not here, because he thought football was off the agenda, and I said, well, there could be other things to do with sport. I noticed Nick Kyrgios. Would you call that sport? He has claimed mental illness for having a physical assault charge against him by his ex-girlfriend Chiara Pisari. Pisari. It is Pisari. Chikara. Anyhow, so he was in court. He's overplaying in the Japan titles at the minute, and his legal team have claimed mental illness, and that's why he had an altercation with Chiara Pisari.
But listen, hang on. You've gone on to tennis. I think there's a lot more we could talk about at Essendon.
No, it's
too.
I'm getting on to Essendon. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
I was only just saying Max could have come in here and spoken about sport. And I just, as sport, I mentioned Nick Kyrgios. So, but we're getting back onto Essendon. So, Mr. Thorburn, what is he? Member of the church on the hill
the
or
church.
something?
Well, anyway, we've covered that issue. But
Have we?
Well, since we did our last podcast, people have been critical of Kevin Sheedy. Now, Kevin Sheedy's on the committee.
Yes.
And he was hauled over the coals by some of the media over the decision to appoint Brad Scott.
Brad Scott, yeah, Brad.
Brad Scott as the coach. And they said, I should get off the board and whatever else. But the board made a mistake in
Yes.
saying it was a unanimous decision. It was a majority decision.
Yes.
And I think he was well within his rights to
course.
say.
And Brad Scott.
It was badly worded. And I hold nothing against Kevin Sheedy for that, and he's not living in the past or whatever else. But
and Brad Scott acknowledged that. He said in a
did
Brad Scott, I think, in fairness to Brad, said in a democracy, we have a vote, and if someone gets the numbers, they get in, like any election. And I don't think he bore any animosity to Kevin Sheedy. And I rang Kevin Sheedy in Quebec last week after it was alleged that he knew about the Aboriginal case that was coming up against Hawthorn, and that's why he advised against appointing the coach of, what's his name, Alistair Clarkson at Essendon, and he said that is not true. That is not true at all. He didn't know of the case coming up, and he didn't tell Alistair Clarkson via Essendon not to apply for the job because he wouldn't get it. And he said that's absolute nonsense.
I'm going to
but that was reported in the paper
what about
as well.
revisiting that text that full of conspiracy theories that was sent to us? And
yes,
it did say, didn't it make some mention about James Hird appointed? Here it is.
Yes.
And this is well before the Essendon appointment. Adam Urzay, current favourite for the role, Adam Urzay, will not be appointed to the role. They were right there, as will be implicated in the review decision to be announced after the grand final. James Hird appointed under Kevin Sheedy's direction. Well, that was true that Kevin Sheedy was pushing for James Hird.
Yeah, but he wasn't appointed.
Media speculation about Brad Scott being a late entrant to the end process is just that. He will be. They were wrong there. He will be joining Brisbane.
They were wrong everywhere, Don. Kevin Sheedy said that he backed James Hird, but he wasn't going to. But he didn't turn out to be the coach, so they were wrong there.
And the Clarkson issue.
Yes, and he said also that Clarkson, he had advised Essendon, Sheedy had advised Essendon not to appoint Clarkson because he was aware that the Aboriginal stuff was coming up against Hawthorn. He said that was none true. So it's all just speculation. It's salacious gossip.
Hang on, this is one that's interesting.
Don.
Yeah, but hang on. Well, gossip, it's interesting. A rumour file.
That's right.
3RW have a rumour file and people send these things through.
That's right. And you'd be amazed that as soon as a rumour starts, it's considered fact by anyone who hears it and it's announced. They consider it to be fact. You can push back as hard as you like, but once it's said, people find it very hard to disavow what has been said, Don. Yep, someone else has walked in. I know you've acknowledged them. Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, so Mr. Thorburn is a member of the church. What is he's a member of the church on the hill or the hillside
I'm not
church.
into religion.
No, what?
I think religion's all
You
right.
don't
I
like
think,
it when I blaspheme?
Yeah, isn't that funny? Because my grandmother...
Yeah, I know your grandmother didn't like it. Yep,
didn't-
I know you
how-
say that every time.
I know that.
You get
Isn't
onto
it
horses
funny how you
and
get
Hawthorn Football
indoctrinated
Club.
as a young person?
Well, you shouldn't blaspheme. So anyhow,
Well, you know, and I'm not religious, so what does it matter?
the Herald Sun reported that Mr. Thorburn had been had withdrawn from the presidency of Hawthorn of Essendon, and it said shock link to the church after he announced a shock link to the church. That's an extravagant headline, a bit like the Daily Mail. Shock link to the church.
Why wouldn't you do your due diligence?
Well, they said they did.
What?
They said they did do they said they did, but if a member, someone was a member of a church, and you're interviewing him for the position of CEO, you probably wouldn't ask him all those questions, would you? Are you in favour of homosexuality or gays marriage
when you do
or
your due diligence,
transgender items or
you employ people to do it, and they haven't done their job properly if this hasn't shown up. You actually employed people to do the investigative work.
Okay, so well, let's just say you're coming in, Don.
Oh, jeez, don't. No.
No, just say I'm applying for the job of CEO, and you're interviewing me, right? And you say, yes, now, Mr. Newman.
There wouldn't be.
I'm speaking for you. And yes, Mr. Newman. Now, why do you are a member of any clubs? And I say yes, I'm a member of the MCC, and I'm a member of the Essendon Football Club, and I'm a member of the Hillside Church. Oh, you're a member of the Hillside Church, eh? Yes. And then what would your next question be?
Well,
are you a religious man or?
No, you just put that down, Hillside Church.
Yeah.
You might ask a question, but
Go
then
on, what
after
question
the
would you
interview-
ask me?
No, after the interview,
I'm
you'd
being
go,
interviewed by you. What question?
Shut up. Can I finish? I would ask you maybe a question about the Hillside Church, but then I would go away because I'm ignorant about the Hillside Church, and I'd investigate the Hillside Church.
Would you? And then
Yes.
you'd get me back for another interview?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh,
I'd
you'd
make
say
my mind up. So you take things away and you do a little bit more investigative work.
So I'm thinking that you've asked me that I'm a member of the Hillside Church, and I think, well, that's all right. You've gone away, and I think I say to my wife, or my friend or my partner, I say, man, woman, or beast. I say,
you into
man, woman, or beast. So I say, I think the interview went well. I think I might have a job.
I'd say just
I
don't
think
count
I
your
might
chickens.
have. I'm not counting my chickens. I'd say to her, him, or thy. I've had an interesting interview with the Essendon Football Club. A man asked me, was I a member of some clubs? I said the Hillside Church. And he said, good, and I didn't hear anything more about it. So I think I might be through to the semis without dropping a set. And then suddenly I get in a letter saying, thank you very much for applying. We'll get back to you. But as you're a member of the Hillside Church...
No, you wouldn't say that.
Well, you would say...
No, sorry, you're unsuccessful.
You're unsuccessful, yeah. And I as I'd like a reason why I was unsuccessful.
You're
You'd
just
say,
unsuccessful.
well, you're against homosexuality. That's what one of the planks of the church is.
No.
And you say, really, is that why I missed the job?
No.
And you say, yes, it was.
You talked about bestiality then. Can we just digress? You brought something up.
About bestiality?
Yeah, and it made me think of animals.
That's what it is, Don.
Hang on,
When you roll your leg over the back of a ewe, that's called bestiality.
Hence
the
called
term.
Identity politics as well. I heard a story of, I don't know whether I should name the school.
Hence the term.
I don't think I'll name the school, but it is a seaside resort school.
I wouldn't name.
Okay,
At this stage, I wouldn't name it.
There are two students who identify themselves as coyotes. Can you believe that? And they go out at recess or lunchtime and groom themselves. And I was telling a friend about this, and she said, well, her hairdresser told her about another student at a secondary school who identifies themselves as a dog, and at recess walked past another student who meowed in return to the bark. As she walked past, it went woof, woof, woof. The girl went meow. She was hauled up before the principal with regard to not showing respect to the lady or the student who was a dog. Can you believe? Are we going crazy?
You're going crazy.
No, I'm not. These are.
Was the bloke who identified as a dog going around pissing on everything, marking his territory?
I don't know, but I just
Spreading
told them
COVID.
about this other one about the coyotes, and that came from a very reliable source. What is going on in this world?
Hence the term, Don, when the driving instructor said to his client, "Could you make a U-turn?" He said, "No, but I could make its eyes bulge." That's a joke about bestiality. Now, Don, two blokes signalling as coyotes. What at the back of at recess? They go out. What do they do?
Well, that's all that was told to me. They go out and groom
Do
themselves like a dog, or I suppose a dog or a coyote.
Does a coyote howl?
It's an American thing. Wouldn't you identify?
It's a wolf howls. You go. How
does it go?
I'm going.
No, I think you've been on your boat too long. That's a foghorn.
What?
That's a foghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn.
You've been on your boat.
Foghorn Leghorn. I see. That's my boy. Haven't you ever seen that on the Foghorn Leghorn? Now, Don. So Mr. Thorburn has Mr. Thorburn. He's fallen on his sword. He's said that he's a member of the Hillside Church or whatever, and they have said no, that's not acceptable. Now they're looking for a new CEO. What questions do you think, in light of the fact that Mr. Thorburn hasn't got the job because his church doesn't look kindly on homosexuals? I think that's what he says. What questions do you think are going to be asked of any other person who applies for the job? They'll plunge right into this background of anyone that on the basis that there might be some prying eyes out there who will really go into this person's future or past rather to see if he's eligible for the job, and anything that they might have transgressed in their past will be brought up and be rendered as illegally will render him ineligible to be a candidate for CEO. Don, it's ridiculous, isn't it, or not?
It is.
And it's a bit like the AFWL.
But where do you draw the line?
Well,
it's a bit like...
That's what I said. Where do you draw the line?
Well, you had the rugby players who are very, religious in
the
Sydney,
Islanders.
The Islanders who are very religious people and believe in their faith, yet they don't believe, and they took a stand. Now, you can't quit. I don't know.
And it's like the AFWL who appointed the Muslim lass as the face of the AFWL. And when the rainbow jumpers were asked to be worn by the AFWL people, she said no. And that backfired on them. And I keep telling the AFL if they could just stop getting involved in political and social issues and just run the game properly.
Can I ask you a question? If you're playing today, would you wear a particular Guernsey?
Specifically a rainbow Guernsey.
Any Guernsey. They change their Guernseys all the time. Would you wear a particular Guernsey? I certainly wouldn't.
Well, so if you're playing football, you wouldn't wear...
I would run out in the club Guernsey.
Well, you wouldn't get a game, Don.
Well, that's too bad.
So if you were playing and they had the Indigenous round and they had the Hawthorn jumper in all the Indigenous design of the Hawthorn jumper, you wouldn't wear it. No. Or the gay pride jumper, or the pink jumper for Save Women's Breast Cancer, or where do you draw the line at all that?
I wouldn't do it. There's your club uniform, and that's it.
But if they say it's for marketing purposes and they're trying to bolster our coffers to pay for your salary...
That's it. Football clubs are...
I tend to agree with you, not on those overall issues. I tend to agree with you. I'd like to see the club colours represented absolutely stringently rather than all these hybrid jumpers that come out because they say it clashes for the television.
That is absolute rubbish.
Nonsense.
We all know that.
It is nonsense. Black and white shorts when you're away at home, your club colours, and that's it.
And there was never any confusion when North Melbourne and Collingwood played in the old days, did they?
No,
They
never.
had black and white shorts and vertical stripes, pale blue, and the other was black and white, and there was no confusion.
Hardly pale blue, Don. Navy.
Was it?
No. Royal blue.
Oh, it should have been pale blue.
If you're watching before 1966...
Yes, well done, it was pale blue.
When was colour television come in? No, 72, did it?
Yes, 70s, wasn't it?
If you're watching before colour television came in, it was a fraction hard to distinguish between the jerseys.
Yes.
But now that colour television is in, Don...
Talking about jerseys or old Guernseys, Fitzroy.
Were we
Remember
talking about
Fitzroy? No, I'm just talking... We're talking about North Melbourne, pale blue. It was
Yes.
a kind of a pale blue, now it's a royal blue.
that? Yep.
And Melbourne used to be a dark navy blue with a red yoke. Fitzroy, or Brisbane, I thought it was a really nice old Guernsey. I don't know why they got rid of it. It was maroon and navy. A maroon yoke, navy
Don,
bottom,
why'd they get
and
rid
a
of it?
white insignia, like similar to Carlton.
Why'd they get
Why
rid
did
of
they
it?
get rid of it?
Because they wanted to have something that represented Brisbane as opposed to Fitzroy, which is a suburb of Melbourne.
But they could have taken those colours.
Just call it BFC, Brisbane Football Club, as opposed to FFC.
Yeah, but if they went right back to the original navy and maroon, they would have had that link with Fitzroy, wouldn't they?
Yes,
and I know
well, they
Fitzroy
do still
changed their
have
colours
maroon.
through the 80s and 90s and all the rest of it.
Well, speaking of that, this is a nice segue on to, do you know, on Monday it was World Visibility Day. You know, there's a day now for every day of the year there's some sort of cause. World Visibility Day. Did you know that?
I'm
What
waiting for the explanation as to visibility.
Well, I have. That's my point. Is asking you, what would World Visibility Day
I'm
be
asking you.
about? Well, maybe it's the fact that I don't know if it's to do with eyesight, or you're recognising people of different races or genders or sexual orientations, or are you? I'm not sure what it is, but it's just a World Visibility Day. Might be, Don, and this is another segue. Do you know what a segue is? When you just mention one topic and ease into another, seeing as you've got no topics at all yet. World Visibility Day could be, do you know michaelchristianmenswear.com?
Where's the segue here?
.au up your bum. No, michaelchristianmenswear.com.
Is out of business.
He's not out of business. He's now thriving back in business by he has commissioned a run of You Cannot Be Serious caps and that other bungle. What are those giggle things called? Those
Giggle hats.
giggle hats. Giggle hats, are they
Yeah,
called?
well, that's those ones they wore in the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Vietnam War.
He has sold out of the run.
Oh,
the
for
first,
rubbish. Which one, the peak one or that giggle hat?
no, the peak one that says You Cannot Be
What, he
Serious.
made 10 of them, I suppose.
You can't buy 10. You can't order a run of 10 hats from a company that manufactures them. I don't know what the run is, but he says that he has now sold out.
Oh, it couldn't be.
What?
I think that's a publicity ploy. Who'd wear
no,
that?
it's not a
Who'd wear that?
Well, plenty of people would wear that because it
What,
says
with You Cannot Be Serious across the front of it?
yes, and nothing else. Hasn't got your name or mine or anything else on
Thank
it.
God.
No, You Cannot Be Serious is fantastic, Don, because when someone tells you that electric cars are the way to go, you can just point to the hat and say You Cannot
What,
Be
you
Serious.
point to your forehead?
You just say you don't. It's tacit, Don. It's
Tacit?
Tacit. It's unspoken. People, you just point to the hat and say You Cannot Be Serious. Or when someone says,
Hang on, my
that
name's on the side of that one.
on this one it is, but not the ones that he's had manufactured. And if someone says, electric vehicles are the way to go, you could say You Cannot Be Serious, or say the pandemic and the COVID
Just point
thing
to your
that the Victorian government stringently policed for 2 years. You say that people say, well, that was worthwhile, and you say You Cannot Be Serious.
point to your forehead?
Just an absolute hoax, Or you could say, all about the stuff we spoke about, welcoming and recognising people who are here on the land first, and let's have 2 or 3 or 4 shots at it at every grand final. You can say you cannot be serious. You could do all those. Why are we sending money to the Ukraine for a start? You cannot be serious. How about we look after ourselves here first and let the Ukrainian people work out their differences with Mr. Putin and Russia? Why are we sending money over to them?
Okay, talking about sending money overseas, what happens with Crown land? Are we taxed on Crown land and that goes back to the royal family?
Yeah, I know we're taxed on Crown land because if you have
Where does that money go?
I know we're taxed on Crown land because if you have a boat mooring, you can't own rivers or the sea or the coastal areas. I pay land tax on a berth that I have that my boat floats in.
But hang on, so that'd be for the maintenance or cleaning up of the river, wouldn't it?
I don't know what it is. It's a tax.
Really?
Ostensibly, it would be for all that.
Okay, but that's not. Is that Crown land? Or
Yes,
state land?
I just said you can't buy waterways or
Is it
rivers.
Crown land? Rivers Crown land.
It's government land.
Now,
Which is one and the same thing, I think.
No, I think.
Oh, no. See.
That's why I'm asking whether, you know.
Why didn't you check it out before you asked?
Well, you're the brains. You went to Geelong Grammar.
Well, I'm just telling you, if it's Crown land, government own it. The government is the Crown, and a representative of the Queen or the late Queen or the new King or whatever we're tied to these days as a royalist country, as a not a democracy.
There was a perfect segue there, Geelong Grammar. I saw a show last night talking about Geelong Grammar, a former student. I mentioned it last week, and the show is called Take 5 on the ABC. Don't go.
No, I know you're gone. Is this when they interviewed
Last
some
night,
singer?
There's singers each week. It's done by Zan Rowe.
Yeah, you said that.
And I said it was a good show last week. It is, and it was an excellent one yesterday because they had
Missy Higgins?
Well done. Did you watch it?
No, but she was a Geelong Grammar student.
She was.
Ex-Geelong Grammar student.
That's right. It was a powerful interview.
Good.
I would say a powerful interview.
Powerful.
She thought it was therapeutic. Missy Higgins talked
Cathartic.
Well, I don't know about that. I would like
That's
to
what
know.
it means.
I would like to know really how long the actual interview went for, because it went for half an hour. I should imagine they would have edited it because she was very, very comfortable in what she was saying.
What did Missy
say? But it is
say?
a very good show. She talked about her personal life, and I think it takes a very brave person to talk about their personal life
What
publicly.
did she say about her personal life at Geelong Grammar?
She talked about Geelong Grammar, how she got up, and as a young student, I think she's in second form, was in the school musical, and how she used to take herself off to private rooms where they had a piano, and she'd sit there and just immerse herself and formulate what she is today, and the various influences in her life. And
the school will give you opportunities to do that, Don. That's the beauty of schools like that.
The grammar.
Well, schools like that. They
What's
give you a
that?
chance to not only learn how to read, write and add up sums, they give you a chance to broaden your horizon.
Yes, but it is
an overall...
Yes, but if you are well endowed financially, you're able to do that.
Not
it
at
doesn't.
all.
It does. It gives
No, it's
those people.
Plenty of people go to private schools or public schools, as they're called. Plenty of parents scrimp and save to send their offspring to private schools. It's not necessarily
I'm
a wealth
not saying
thing.
they don't. Well,
no, good. You just said
well,
if you're well endowed.
Well, you've
I
got to
presume
be
you
to
mean
even
financially.
afford it. But anyway, that's another issue.
So
Anyway, so Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, Take 5, Zan Rowe is the interview. She's on Triple R.
why don't you get her in here then, seeing as
I
you
think
could
she's from
provide
Sydney.
one guest for the first time in 2 years?
No, I've given up. You are the... Anyway, we'll...
Got an interesting guest. I'm not sure if he'll turn up. Got an
Probably
interesting
won't
guest
turn
coming.
up.
Probably won't. Now,
Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, Take 5, ABC, Zan Rowe.
okay, Don. So back to michaelchristianmenswear.com. If you would like a hat, a cap, or a giggle hat, or whatever you call them, you cannot be serious. you can email michaelchristianmenswear.com, and I think they're 34 or 39.
They're not.
They're $34.95 or $39.95.
They're a buck a hat.
Pardon, they're bucket hat?
No, they're a buck. I think that's what you call them, bucket hats, don't
Bucket
you?
hats.
Giggle hat or bucket hat?
A bucket hat, yep. What did you say? They're a
buck.
No, they're not.
Buck to buy.
What? They're not. But they're $2. It costs you $1 to embroider them. It gets embroidered in Tasmania. This is Australia, as Australian as you can get, except. Pardon?
They spell?
Well, Mick spell checks the words.
Well, yeah, but they've got to set the machinery up, the embroidery machine.
Yeah, I know, but Mick
What goes in and does the embroidery himself?
He sets the type on the machine.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't sit
the
there with the needle.
first sample that came out was, "You cannot be sorrial." And I said, "What's that mean, Mick?" He said, "It's meant to be you cannot be serious," but they put in, "You cannot be sorrial." And I said...
So what does he do? Get a pair of scissors, a razor blade, fix the stitching up, then stands there with a needle and thread and...
No, Don, if you know how to typeset a machine that prints, you get a little pair of tweezers and you put the letters in their correct sequence, you plug them in, and then you Roneo off a copy, and you look at it and you say, yeah, no, that you've got to put that cannot is C-A-N-N-O-T, not C-A-N, and be serious is not S-H-I-R-L-O-D-B-Q-R-L, it's serious, S-E-R-I-O-U-S. So Mick spell checks it all, and it's got an inverted comma at one end and an inverted comma at the other, which means to say it's a saying, it's a quote, you cannot be serious. And on the back...
What colours are this hat?
They come in, you can get them in any colour at all, Don.
What, the bucket hats or giggle hats as well?
You can get the buggle
hats.
You can get the bucket hats or the golf caps, if you like, in any colour as long as it's red. And they have
red.
They have white font.
Font.
You're going to pronounce. You're going to just repeat every word I say. Yes, they're red.
Red.
Yes, you can have them on any hat. Hat. Yeah, and you can, as long as it's red and it's got white font. Don, it says the font is white. You cannot be serious.
Really?
And the hats are red. And he sold out the first run. So this is sort of an ad.
Sort of an ad. It's blatantly an ad. That reminds me of those Donald Trump hats. What's he got on those?
Yeah, Make America Great Again. Yeah. Man.
He looks stupid, doesn't he, with a suit on him?
Fantastic.
No, listen, Johnny, he wears a red and white hat and he's got a suit.
Oh, that's right. He's promoting the hats. We promote our hats here. You cannot be serious when we do the stand-up in front of the sign.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, that's right. So there we are. So if you want any hats, and
Summer's coming on.
What?
Summer's coming on. That'd be a good.
Summer's coming.
Yeah, protect your head.
I tell you who I saw in one the other day, and that was Dr. James Stewart. Do you know?
Now hang on. You're creating a monster here.
I'm just telling you.
You have got a habit of creating monsters in your life who eventually stitch you up. Do you want me to go through them all? You've been stitched up by. Hey, where will I start?
Well, I'd be very careful.
And James Stewart's going down exactly the same path.
About who
You've
you
just
mentioned.
had a blue with someone else that I won't mention on the phone. I told you to hang the phone up. You had a blue with them, so that will wipe him out of your contact list from here on.
Who did I have a blue with?
We won't say, but anyway, I told you. Jimmy Stewart's going down exactly the same path.
I'm just telling you.
Yes.
I saw
Jimmy.
Dr. James Stewart in a "You Cannot Be Serious" hat.
Oh, bullshit.
And I'm sure it was him.
Hasn't he got a life? Why would you wear a bloody...
I'm sure it was him because he... I was round by where his...
Where's his...
I was round by where his surgery was, and I thought it was
Where's his surgery?
In Malvern Road in... Malvern Road. Malvern Road.
Don't put the address, they'll pick it.
Well, you can pick all if you do is look up Dr. James Stewart in the, I was going to say yellow pages, on the
pink pages.
On the email or on the Google him, and it tells you where his address is.
Remember the pink pages?
Yeah, it tells you where his address is, Don. if you could just stick on one subject without branching onto the pink pages. And I'm sure it was him because I saw him walk across the road with this woman, very charming.
Really?
Very charming looking woman.
Ooh.
And I think it was his wife. And he was going across the road for lunch. Not dinner, lunch. And he had one of those hats on. I think it was him, might not have been, but he's in Malvern Road, Dr. James Stewart. And maybe people have said to him, that marijuana oil that Don keeps mentioning, is it any good? And he probably points to his hat and says, you cannot be serious. And meaning, of course it's good. Well, he would say it's good because he dispenses it.
Yeah, but it could go the other way.
It could, but someone said, I'm saying if someone said to him, Don Scott keeps mentioning the marijuana oil has done wonders for his fingers and his brain and anything else that might be vaguely working. And he says, yes, that's why he comes in and gets it. And someone might say, are you serious? And he says, you cannot be serious. He point to the hat. So it's subliminal, Don. You don't have to actually...
What?
Subliminal. You don't actually have to mention it. It's just there in front of you. It's a bit like tacit. Means unspoken, as opposed to tactile, which means touching. You're not a tactile person, Don. No,
I get in trouble not being tactile.
Yeah, tactile. Have you ever held a woman's hand? Hey,
No.
You've held her throat a couple of times, but not her hand. Now, Don, who were you going to say that I've had a run-in with? Go on. You were going to say, who have I had a run-in with?
No, I've got to watch what I do. I don't stand on the edge like you do.
Anyhow, we've got a few. We might close
Will we wind this up?
Well, we're going to wind it up, and we're going to...
Talking about guests we had on,
Yeah.
and I know you think I don't, but I go to bloody Woolworths or Coles down at, I don't know what store it is, at Benton Square in Mornington.
Has it got the apple core that's shaped into a W? You know, the apple
I don't
peel?
know what it
That'd
is.
be
I just walk
Woolworths.
in there.
And
But
Coles is...
hang on.
Is
Here it is
GJ
here.
Coles.
And I go to instead of going to the fish and chip shop or the Chinese to get takeaway, and a girl, Be Fit Foods, Kate Save, and I picked up some dim sims.
Oh, Kate Save.
You remember her?
What, from Be Fit
Entrepreneur of the
Foods?
Year. Be Fit Foods.
She give her one of the hats, you cannot be serious.
I will. Anyway, I rang up and I said about these balls. She had they were dim sims, you know, big ones, so I had to go and read the writing.
Big dim sim balls.
Yeah, I wish you'd... Can you read that writing on the back of that packet? I can't. Listen, she's dealing with old people here. You can't make your writing bigger, Kate.
Ingredients?
There you go. You're struggling.
I'm trying to pronounce the
word.
word.
I had to cook these bloody dim sim balls.
Probiotic, prosthetic, protein powder. I can read the whole thing. What are you talking about?
Anyway, okay, well, I think she should make the writing a little bit bigger, the instructions.
Dried apple, lecithin.
Yeah, but hang on, that's for the protein balls.
Well, I'm reading it out. I can read the whole thing, Don. It says storage, you've got to keep it in a cool room. Allergies, it contains MWK, milk, soy, free nuts, tree nuts, sesame seeds, peanuts, made for Be Fit Foods, real food for fast results. I can tell you the date it was printed on the 13th of July 23. That's when the use by date comes out. I can read everything, single thing on it. Lemon and coconut balls.
Okay, well, I struggle. But anyway, I had her dim sims the other night. I rang up and complimented her, and she said her father came up with the recipe. They're very good balls. So her father's balls, dim sim balls, I recommend.
Speaking of Woolworths or Coles,
yes,
there was these
Be Fit Foods.
Remember Jack Dyer, Lou Richards, and Bob Davis?
Yeah, on
League
what was
Teams.
that show? League Teams.
Well, they were walking home after celebrating one of the shows, and they'd all had a bit to drink, and the coppers came round the corner, and Bob said, "Leave this to me." He said, "I'll handle this."
How did he say that?
He said, "Fair dinkum." He said, "Could you fair dinkum leave this to me? I'll handle the copper." So the policeman came out and he said to Bob, "Have you been drinking?" And Bob said, "No, I haven't." He said, "What's your name?" And Bob thought he'd be pretty smart, and he pulled a name off one of the shop windows. And he said, "My name's Coles." And the copper said, "What initial?" He said, "GJ." So he wrote it down. He said to Lou, have you been drinking? He said, no, I haven't, sir. He said, and what's your name? And Lou thought he'd follow Bob's suit. He said, my name's David. He said, David who? He said, it's not
Roger.
David anyone. He said, my name's Roger David, who was a clothing manufacturer. And he said to Jack, have you been drinking? And Jack said, no. He said, what's your name? He said, would you believe? Because the two had just pulled a name off one of the shop windows. G.J. Coles, Roger David.
People wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about. You realise that?
Well, Don, the police asked the three boys who were they just leaving the studio from league teams, and
They wouldn't even know league teams,
and they.
young
Well,
people.
I'm telling you, and Bob said, "I'll handle this," and he said, "My name's." When the copper said, "What's your name?" He said,
Okay,
"My
I
name's
know all
Coles."
that, yeah,
He just pulled a name off one of the shop windows, and he said to Lou, he said, "Have you been?" He said, "What's your name?" He said, "My name's David," or he could have been Fletcher
I
Jones.
know,
He said, "My
Roger
name's
David.
Jones." He said,
Yes.
"What's initial?" He
Yeah.
said, "Fletcher," and he just pulled the name off, and he said to Jack, "Have you been drinking?" And Jack said, "No." He said, "What's your name?" He said, "Would you believe the New South Wales branch of the Permanent Building Society?" So that's what, So that's that. So that was. So there we are. So that's. I know I got through that, John, without you interrupting the joke. Although you said no one would know who those names are, no one would know Bob, and no one would know league teams.
Do you think they ever had a script for that show?
Oh yeah. So
The
that
most
was,
unscripted show.
so there we are. So Don, we've got plenty more to talk about. So we're going to just truncate
Have a
this
break.
now. We're going to have a break. And I hope
Okay,
it's,
go to a break, please.
right, Don. We've got. If you got any more to speak about,
Who are we coming back with?
What?
Who are we coming
We're
back
not
with?
announcing who we're coming back with till he turns
What
up.
about Ben?
Who?
Dr. Ben? Is he on today?
No, Don. He comes. Dr. Fordham
Yeah.
comes on every other week.
Well, he didn't. He wasn't on last
Yes,
week.
he was.
What did we talk about?
I hope he was on last week because
no,
if
he's on this week.
No, he's not.
9:30, is he?
He hasn't been ringing in, has he? Has he rung in? Jesus, he has. Fucking hell.
I told you, don't swear.
Christ. Fuck.
You're hopeless. Wind it up, will you?
Fuck, hang
Wind
on.
it up.
Oh,
Hit the music.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Don't blaspheme.
Sorry about that. Where's the music?
Come on, hurry up.